Okay, we're going to run through setting up the Cleveland AC alternator bracket combo. So first things first, lay everything out on the bench as much as you can. Try to understand that the parts that you've got in front of you. One thing I like to do is I like to separate some of the AC bolts away. The AC bolts are actually M8 bolts. Everything else is Imperial. So a couple things that I'll note is these kits use the eccentric idler. The eccentric idler will come with an M10 cap screw and a small spacer. You can have that set up. That'll be going together a bit later. The other thing that we have with these kits is a built-in timing pointer. We've made this timing pointer like a little spike. So when you look at the Cleveland rear plate, you'll see this threaded hole between the two larger holes. That is where the spike is going to go. So you're going to be able to tighten that and do that up in there. When you get this on the engine's in top dead center, you're going to be able to adjust this spike and get your timing in the correct position. I'm not going to put that on for this video, but that's how that goes together. So establishing a few things here. This is the Cleveland rear plate, alternator front plate, AC, which is the lower plate, and this is a side support. So the first thing that I'd be doing is building the bracket on the bench. If you build the bracket on the bench and set it all up, you're going to be able to most likely just place it straight onto the front of the engine. So you get your AC lower half, alternator top half, and this 1/4 inch cap screw which goes in from the front, and we're just going to do that up. Because we've got stainless steel cap screws going into aluminium, anti-seize will be a good option for these bolts. So now that you've got that set up, the second thing you're going to want to do is work out your rear plate and your side support. So right here we're going to have different length cap screws, and we're looking at the 5/16 cap screws. So we've got two longer 5/16 cap screws and one that's a little bit shorter. Let's start with the longer ones. Longer one in there, longer one in there, and just for an example, the shorter one's going to go into that hole there. So we can lift that up. Now the side support is going to go down in this bottom hole here, and when this side support's on and going into the rear plate, it's actually going to help mount the rear of the AC compressor. So that's our rear support for the AC compressor. Next step is getting a couple spacers. There's 3 spacers in the kit. 2 are shorter. You're going to want to get the shorter ones. So you place those on those 2, and then you get your rear plate and you put it over. Now this third cap screw, the one that was a little bit shorter, it will be your best friend now, because you can just use that to finger tighten this bracket, and it's actually going to help hold it together for you, which is quite handy. So now you can see the bracket starting to come together. Before you get too far, you're going to want to put in your 3/8 cap screw, which I always forget to do first. Back that off again. Okay, you're going to have the bracket built out to this point now. It's all pretty snug. The next step I like to do is I like to set up the AC compressor onto it. So for the AC compressor, you're going to position it like this on the bench. And then we're just going to place the bracketry over the front. And then you're going to have a look at your M8 cap screws, which will go in from the front. And just lightly screw into these holes. You do not need to do anything too tight at this stage. Actually, keeping everything loose will be helpful for later. So now we're going to come around to the back. We've got the longer M8 bolt now, which is going to screw into the back of the side support. I used hex for this bolt for a reason. The reason is the oil pan of the engine is now going to be quite close. I've tucked this in as much as we can get to the engine block. So if you ever need to get to this while it's on the car, a ratcheting half-inch spanner or the appropriate metric spanner will do the job. You can get in from underneath. Makes life easy. With your final spacer, slip it over your 3/8 cap screw, and now this is ready to start mounting onto the engine, and then we'll start mounting the alternator. This next step is quite easy for me to say because I'm doing this on the engine and not in the car. However you decide to do this is up to you, whatever you find easier. Although for demonstration of this video, I'm going to bolt this up all in one piece, more or less. So using the two holes on the engine block, which you access through the timing cover, you can start to tighten up these 5/16 cap screws. And then using the earth pointer tab hole, and then you tighten up the 3/8 cap screw into the earth tab hole. A good trick with this, just to remember, keep the front rather loose until you put the alternator in. For putting the alternator in, you're going to have one long 7/16 cap screw and one 1-inch 3/8 cap screw. So you start them. My suggestion is just start the 3/8 cap screw as well. You find your alignment and pop it all in. Now this is all sitting quite well loosely. The next step will be to firm up these 5/16 cap screws now, because we're going to install the eccentric idler pulley. The eccentric idler pulley is going to cover this cap screw. This is a good reason why I like to go and tighten these up now. Get the eccentric idler on and just keep it loose for now. You'll see that this is eccentric idler pulley is an adjustable idler, so it's elongated and offset. So for now, leave it like that, and we're going to begin to run our belts. So start with the belt around the top, run down under the balancer, under the AC. The last thing to do is to pop it over eccentric idler. Everything is very loose at this point, which is fine. Let's just get this alternator to the middle of the adjustment slide area. That should be a good starting point, and then we'll see how much slack the eccentric idler will take up. I do these by hand. I don't use any special tools. As you can see then, I just gently hold it with one finger while I tightened it, and as tightening, the eccentric idler actually took up the slack of the belt. Now right now this belt is nicely tight. It's in a good position. It's not too loose, but it's not too tight either. You don't need these too loose or too tight. They're quite forgiving. Perfect. So the next step is going to be tightening up your AC. Using your ratcheting spanner in from behind, get the back of the AC tight, tighten up the back of the alternator 7/16 cap screw with your washer and nut. And there you have it. Once everything's tight, you've now just installed your Cleveland low mount AC.